I'm going to talk a bit about self-compassion. So self-compassion is the ability or the practice of self-kindness, holding ourselves with warmth, with generosity, with understanding, sometimes even with forgiveness. There's been a lot of attention, a lot more attention on self-compassion and, research showing the benefits of self-compassion. But what I want to talk specifically about in this short video is why, if it's so good for us, so many of us really struggle to apply it in our everyday life. I think the first big thing that comes up for a lot of people is this idea that it's too soft, or it's too much, or oh, it's not for me, that somehow it's very self-indulgent, or it's about wallowing in self-pity. And that's really not what self-compassion is about. It's not about making excuses for our behavior. It's about seeing the mistakes that we make for what they are. And actually recognizing that as human beings, we are bound to make mistakes because we are imperfect, and recognizing that we all have these experiences, that my mistakes are not because I'm bad or because I'm special, it's because I'm human, and that we all have these moments. I think the second thing that really stops us from seriously considering treating ourselves with a little bit more kindness is the belief that in order to perform, I have to be hard on myself. I have to really push myself. I have to really coach myself in a way. But often the way that we coach ourselves can be quite harsh or critical. And the use of fear as a motivator is something I think many of us are so familiar with, either culturally or within our families. And there is some utility to using fear as a way of motivating behavior. It does create some behavior change. However, it either has a limited use or often creates negative outcomes like chronic stress or anxiety or anger or loneliness even. And what the research is really showing us more and more is that when we are able to motivate ourselves from a place of love or worthiness, it creates more lasting change. It creates more meaningful change. And it's a more powerful motivator. So this idea that somehow if I'm nice to myself, it's going to compromise my performance is really not supported by the evidence. The third thing that I want to bring up around self-compassion is that sometimes we see it as, oh, it's a kind of a get out of jail card. So if I make a mistake or if I do something bad, then it's okay, right? Because I need to be nice to myself. And again, that's not what self-compassion is about. Self-compassion is about seeing our mistakes for what they are, behaviors or choices that we have made, instead of, I made this mistake, therefore I am bad. When we are able to see what we have done for what it is, we are actually more able to be accountable for our mistakes. We are more likely to say sorry. We are more likely to take ownership and rectify the situation. And conversely, if we make a mistake and we are, hard on ourselves, or we criticize ourselves, or we beat ourselves up, or we judge ourselves and see ourselves as bad, we actually are more likely to feel shame, which leads us to hide or withdraw, or to make excuses, or to engage in other unhealthy behaviors. So now, having talked a little bit about what self-compassion is and why it is actually so useful for us, the last thing I want to talk about as an obstacle for why many of us don't seriously introduce it to our lives is this idea of deservingness, that while I might acknowledge that self-compassion is good, I might still feel like I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to be kind to myself. And this is really influenced a lot of the time by the experiences that we have had in our lives, the way that others have treated us or shown us, what their version of love is, or how they treat themselves. This is something that is a very personal journey, and I would really urge anyone who struggles with this idea of am I deserving, to really ask the question, if someone else deserves to be held with understanding and kindness, why not me? What stands in the way? What beliefs do I have about myself that excludes me from this way of seeing myself as deserving of kindness and self-compassion? Kristen Neff is a researcher who does a lot of great work around self-compassion. I would encourage you to have a look at her work on her website. I believe it's selfcompassion.org. And also, the next time that you make a mistake or that you feel like you've messed up, I want you to really listen to how you talk to yourself and to identify, hey, am I being really hard on myself? Or am I being overly critical? Am I beating myself down? And the challenge I have for you is, instead of buying into that, I want you to try showing yourself a little bit of kindness, saying, hey, you made a mistake. It wasn't the best, but it's okay. You probably didn't mean it. Or, it's okay to make mistakes sometimes, and see where that takes you.